Hello. Okay, this will be principle number 2 of intuitive eating, honor your hunger. There is a lot to this principle, so you've been warned. If you want to break it up into a couple chunks, I might break it in half here. But it's really important because if you've been dieting, you probably have not even thought about honoring your hunger in a long time, because dieting has nothing to do with hunger. It doesn't teach you that you're allowed to or supposed to eat when you're hungry. It teaches you to eat at certain times, certain foods, certain amounts. So it's a big deal, and it's a really big part of intuitive eating. So I just want to start with this really powerful quote from the first part of the chapter. It says, "A dieting body is a starving body. Drastic comparison? No. While the dieting body may not look like a starving person in Ethiopia or Somalia, the symptoms from dieting exhibit a striking resemblance to the starvation state. The body does not know that there is a McDonald's on every corner as you embark on your diet. As far as the body is concerned, it is living in a famine state and it adapts." So yeah, I know that we've all heard starvation mode, and maybe that it's a myth, or we just brush it off and we're like, whatever. But it's not a myth. Our bodies, they don't get to have like the inside scoop on what we're up to. They don't know that, body, I'm only restricting myself for, the next month because I'm on this diet. Well, no, it's reacting and it's saying, wow, I am not getting enough food right now. And it has to adapt. It has to change some things going on in our body. It has to slow down our metabolism. It has to metabolize foods more slowly because it's not getting them as often. It increases our cravings because it's like, I need food. It causes us to overeat because when we get a bite of something that's like higher calorie or high fat, high sugar, it's like, give me that because you're not giving me it normally, and I don't know if you're going to give it to me again, so give me as much as you can right now. So even though, we're not technically starving, it thinks we are. So that's all that really matters. As long as it thinks we are, we're going to have repercussions from that. Okay, so hunger, right? When's the last time you thought about your hunger? When's the last time you were like, I'm going to eat because I'm hungry? You wake up and you eat breakfast right away because the diet told you to, and then 10 o'clock rolls around and you're like, oh, I better eat a snack because, I'm not supposed to go more than 3 hours, or my diet plan told me to eat at 10 o'clock, and then noon rolls around and, you're probably, hunger is probably not the first thing that comes to mind, which, what is food for, really? It's to fuel our body, of course, but it's also for pleasure and it's also to enjoy. But number one is to fuel our body, which why do we fuel our body? Because our body needs it and because our body is hungry. Not because it's 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. or 12 p.m. or whatever. But we forget that, or we're taught to ignore that with dieting. So we have to kind of get back into that. Okay, so how do we honor our hunger then? Like, how am I supposed to go from being on a schedule and being told what to do, and to start honoring my hunger? Like, how do I even know if I'm hungry? How do I tell? Step one, you can't honor your hunger if you don't even know what it feels like, and I know I didn't. So some symptoms or some feelings that you might get that alert you that you're hungry are mild gurgling or gnawing of the stomach, growling noises, lightheadedness, difficulty concentrating, uncomfortable stomach pain, irritability. If you ever get hangry, I know I do. Feeling faint, a headache. These are all don't mean you're hungry, but they can be a symptom of hunger. Well, how do I know then if they're of hunger? Well, you have to learn. You have to let your body, you have to start feeling it out. Because it tends to be the same thing every time, so you need to start finding those patterns and those similarities. I know for me, for everyone, physical hunger is really a slow process. If we're not really in tune with our hunger, it might feel fast. It might feel like you just get hungry out of nowhere. But really, that's not how hunger normally works. So, it tries to send you a gentle signal. It's slow because it doesn't know that you're going to be able to access food right away. So it wants to start giving you like early warnings before you really need to eat. Like die or need to eat. So, I noticed that when I wake up, I used to just eat right away. But now I don't unless I'm hungry. So what happens is I'll wake up and I start to notice that my stomach's feeling a little empty and feeling a little like, I don't know, it's like woozy or just, I don't know the word to describe it, but just like I definitely couldn't go do anything active, I guess. And it slowly builds, so my stomach will start getting more and more like empty feeling and like starts to turn into like a growl and then a stomach achy kind of a feeling. And then if it's the afternoon, that all those same things happen, but then usually a headache develops if I wait too long. So it's different for every person. I can't tell you how it's going to feel for you, but you just kind of have to learn what it feels like. And once you do figure out what it feels like, an important thing is to let yourself get to that like hangry, super hungry state. Like, I'm ravenous. I will eat anything you put in front of me. I know I'm getting way too hungry when, as a vegetarian, I'm starting to be like, I will eat those like chicken nuggets right now. I will eat that steak. Because I don't eat that stuff and I don't want to, but if I'm like, that looks good, I am way too hungry. So, whatever is for you, how you tell you're ravenous, if you'll eat anything, then you're probably getting too hungry, and that's really not a good thing, not only because, your blood sugar is really low and it's kind of just bad for your body, but it will completely take away all judgment you have. Like, you won't actually eat what you want, and you'll just eat anything, and you want to make sure that you're eating what you want and that you're not going crazy overeating because you went too long without it. So yeah, that's something to be careful with. So something that helps to kind of get in touch with your hunger is to rate your hunger on a scale. In the book, she does a 1 to 10 scale, but I found that was like too big of a range, and it kind of just made me not want to do it because I was like, I don't know what number I am on a 1 to 10 scale. So I actually do a 1 to 5 scale. So 0 is kind of like, I do it backwards from her. So 0 for me is completely 100% stuffed. I don't want to even think about food for the next like 5 hours. 1 would be I'm pretty full. Like I'm not, miserably stuffed, but I'm full. Kind of 2 would be I can definitely feel food in my stomach. I know that I am fed and that I'm satisfied, but I'm not uncomfortable and I'm not like stuffed and I'm not too full. I got food in my tummy. Number 3 would be like neutral. So I don't feel full, I don't feel hungry, I just kind of feel nothing. So this is often how I feel after I eat, because I don't usually try and like overstuff myself. So I usually just feel like, okay, I'm not hungry anymore, but I'm not full, like I'm not too full, but I know that like I'm satisfied and I don't have those hunger feelings anymore. 4 is I'm starting to get hungry. I definitely could eat right now. I definitely probably should eat right now. Like kind of like 3 moving up into 4 for me is like, all right, I need to consider eating now. 5 is too hungry. I am freaking starving. So I try not to get to 5. Sometimes I'm at like 4.5, like where I really push it. Sometimes I'm at 3.5. I do halves sometimes just because I'm like, I don't really think I'm a 4, but I don't think I'm a 3. But yeah, like I sit down and I think about it, because the more you think about it and the more you kind of take note of where your hunger levels are, the better you'll get at recognizing where you fall on that hunger scale. So we need to learn how to get in touch with our hunger signals. We need to kind of think about it. We need to learn what it feels like. And once we get to that point, intuitive eating, sometimes what people do is they're like, okay, mentality principle number 2, or the guiding principle number 2 is honor your hunger. And since we're coming from a diet mentality where everything was about rules, oftentimes people see these guiding principle as rules. I know I did at first. So honor your hunger, sometimes people kind of look at it as like, thou shalt only eat when hungry. Like, I'm only going to eat when I'm hungry because that's what the principle says. Okay, well, this is not a diet, and that is not a rule. It's a guiding principle for a reason. It's not called rule number 2, because there are diet books out there that literally say rule number 1, rule number 2. It's not a rule, because you cannot fail this process, and when you do have rules, then that means they can be broken, and that means you're going to feel guilty. So it's not a rule. It is a guiding principle. It's meant to guide you through this process. It's meant to guide your life. So you just want to do your best with it. You know, you want to try and eat when you're hungry, but of course there are going to be times you eat when you're not hungry. We're humans. Like, we have celebrations, we have social gatherings, and there may be times when you're eating because something looks really good, and like you're in Paris and you're like, man, that looks really good. Never had it before, but I'm not hungry, but I want to try it. Okay, well, guess what? That's fine. But on a diet, would that have been fine? No. Or at least it wouldn't have felt fine. You would have felt guilty for it. So that's the whole difference, is it's about doing your best and knowing from the get-go that this is a process and a progress and not perfection, you know, is important. Knowing that at some point you are going to eat when you're not hungry, but being okay with that because it was never a rule in the first place is really important. So yeah, those are kind of the important things about honoring your hunger. First of all, discovering what hunger is for you, what it feels like, what it looks like. So, you know, you got to figure that out first, and it's going to take some time, especially if you haven't let yourself eat when you're hungry for a while. And then once you know, have gotten to that point, actually doing it, so actually honoring the hunger, so not just figuring out what it feels like, but actually eating when you get to that point. You know, it's one thing to be like, well, that's what my hunger feels like, but I'm not going to eat. Well, that's not really what we're working on. And then making sure that you don't turn it into a rule, because the second it's a rule, it's going to be broken, it's going to make you feel like crap, and that's not the point of this. That's not, you know, we're not turning this into a diet. So just like all my videos, I always feel really scatterbrained, but I just try and speak from, I don't know, a place that seems natural and just what I'm thinking and what the book is talking about. So if you have any questions about honoring your hunger, or, you know, what hunger feels like to you, please share that, so maybe we can all figure out, you know, better what hunger feels like. Or if you're already doing that and you want to share kind of what the difference is between eating when you're hungry versus eating when you're supposed to, please let us know, because I promise you someone needs to hear what you have to say. So thanks for listening. Principle 3 will be on its way at some point. So until then, I hope, you know, you're working your way through these principles and feeling great. So goodbye.